Welcome to Being with Carol. I'm glad you take the time to be here with us. And I have an amazing, great friend, very cool special guest. Her name is Cheryl Chandler. Cheryl is gifted in many, many ways, and you're going to want to know what she has to offer. How are you doing today, Cheryl?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thank you.
Tell us your business, and then we're going to get to know you. But we just want to get that out there of what you do.
Okay. I'm a professional organizer, and my business is called Tao Organizing. And I called it Tao Organizing because Tao is the Chinese yin-yang, and that represents balance and harmony. And I feel like that's what I bring to clients when I come and organize their home and business is balance and harmony.
Wonderful. So you want to stick around this whole hour to see how you might be able to benefit from Cheryl's wealth of knowledge of organization and organization tips and why it serves us. Before we get into that, I want to just have you get to know a little bit about Cheryl. So Cheryl, we get to just dive into what you are and who you are. And so tell me where you're from.
Well, originally I'm from California.
Okay.
Bay Area, but I've been here about 21 years now, and I love it. Except for when it's cold, I like to fly south. I wish I could fly south.
With the birds every once in a while.
Yes, yes.
So you call your home here then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. And so you reside, what town?
I live in Sandy.
Okay.
I love
Sandy.
it there. I've been there most of the time I've been here in Utah.
Okay. So she came across the little point of the mountain to be with us and visit with us today.
Yes.
So she's in our vicinity. And Cheryl, how many children do you have?
I've got 3 children. I've got 2 girls and a boy, and their ages range from 16 to 23.
Okay.
And I have to say that most of them don't have my organizing gene, at least not yet. But, you know, there is definitely a place for everything in our home, and there's a good balance and flow, and they're not embarrassed to bring their friends over.
Yeah.
So that's good. And when it's time to really clean up, they know where things go.
So they've been taught, even though they don't practice.
Yeah.
So, when they're older, as we hear, that might catch on.
Yeah.
We always hope that does. I was a late bloomer myself in that place. So,
Well, my oldest is catching on. She's on her own in her own place, and
Okay.
she's showing good signs.
oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, what do you do for when you don't have organizing to do? What do you do for fun? Or is that your fun?
Oh, no. Well, I love it, but that's not the only thing I do, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Well, I breed Dutch bunnies. I love that.
Oh, I've held some of her bunnies. They are so delightful. They're so cute. A batch coming out soon?
Yeah, in about a week, actually.
Good.
Yeah, it's been a fun thing for me and my kids. Since they were young, they've just had little baby bunnies around, and it's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Well, good.
I also run 5Ks. I do a 2-mile brisk walk most every morning, and I have a little ritual when I go walking. The first mile, I voice gratitude, and then the second mile, I set my intentions for the day, what I'm going to create, what the desires of my heart are. And so it keeps my mind in a positive thinking way the entire time I'm walking, and I love that.
Oh, well, I do something similar too, and I think that helps clear our thoughts and make our day a great day. So,
Yes. It's so easy to go into the worry part about the day. And I've learned that by doing this, it keeps me on what I'm going to create, not what I'm worried about.
So does that help with your organizing?
Oh, definitely. And I think about the client that I'm going to work with that day, too.
Oh,
I
really?
think about who they are and send good thoughts their way and intentions that we'll have a great organizing session and they'll get what they need.
Well, so your day is not just about you. It's about who's going to be in your day and the activities. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
It'd be great to be on Cheryl's mind in the morning while she's walking. Good things would come your way. That's good.
Yes.
But so what did you do before you became an organizer?
Well, I started my career in administration, office administration, when I was 19. I started out as a receptionist and worked my way up secretary and up to office manager. And then we've had a business out of my home. My former husband had a construction business, and so I did the office administration for that, the bookkeeping and paperwork, stuff like that. I've also done some desktop publishing as well over the years. And so all that is, little did I know I was going to end up using it in a professional organizing career, but it's turned out to be a great plus that I've had over 25 years of experience in office paperwork. And that's really my biggest specialty in organizing is paperwork. And I developed a file system as a result of having worked in so many offices as a secretary.
Okay. Well, good. So when you were a little kid, did you play secretary?
No, I didn't. Actually, I never thought I'd go into office administration. No.
Huh.
No.
So
I did other things. I worked at Dairy Queen. That was my first job. And, a Halloween costume shop. I was a seamstress, and so I'd sew some of the costumes, repair them, and get them ready to rent, things like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, how fun. Well, that's neat. So tell us how we might get a hold of you. Well, I don't want to try to deviate from your childhood yet, but okay. I do want to make sure that our audience is aware that there is a way to get a hold of Cheryl, and it is www. And I'm going to spell it. It's TAORGANIZE.com. So it's taoorganize.com. And a number that you can get a hold of her if you are wanting to have some of these amazing services that she offers. Is 801-759-1195. Okay. So is there anybody in your family that organized? Is your mom an organizer? Your sisters? How did this gene come into your world?
Well, I'd say both of my parents have organizing systems. I think at least at this age, they definitely have some. Oh, I don't want to get them in trouble here.
They are not that close. Maybe they won't.
some cluttery spaces. But really, both of them are neat and clean. We always grew up in a neat and clean home, and two of my three siblings are very organized, and one is very not. And
so
what
you
I've
have
learned,
it or you don't. Huh?
You do. What I've learned is that only about 10% of the population is actually born with a natural ability to organize and put things in a logical way. So it's a gift. It's just one of those things. Either you're wired up for it or you're not.
And sometimes we don't realize that wiring until we're older, or is it just something we care about and then it shows up that we do have it? You know what I mean?
Well, I think it shows up at a very early age.
Do you
I
think
really
so?
do, yeah. And I think some it shows up and they have a natural way where they don't really have to be taught too much of how to organize, and they can just take it from there. And I'm one of those. I mean, I remember color coding my closet clothes in elementary school.
Oh, you did that?
I never, and my dresses were together and my pants and my blouses, and I was the only one in the family that had it look that way, and I was never taught that. It's just what I did.
It was an inherent thing then.
Yeah, yeah. However, I'd say that most people, as they get older, if they are just shown a system or structure, they can keep it up from there. Yeah.
Well, that's great. When I was young, I had 7 siblings and a small house growing up on the farm in Lewiston, and it never was quite organized to what I wanted and felt comfortable with. And I think that's something that I acquired a desire because of not that I was total chaos. It's just that's what life was all about. You can't keep a house straight with that many little critters running around. And I so noticed a difference than when we did have our home clean than when we did our Saturday clean, and it was clean for just a short time. But that emotion and that feeling was just so sweet, just so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a break, And again, we're talking to Cheryl Chandler, and you can contact her at 801-759-1195. And she is here visiting with me today on Being with Carol. And we will get back. So don't go away. You are going to be so happy you stayed to listen to what she has to offer. So stick with us. We'll talk to you in a minute. So hello, Cheryl.
Hello, Carol.
I am ready and excited to get into the nuts and bolts about organizing. And you are the person to talk with. You have done amazing things. I have known Cheryl here for many years, and I see her on a regular basis, and the stories that she comes back with organizing people and seeing how their lives are changed are so heartwarming and so amazing. And that's just me from being a bystander, just watching it. So what I really want you to share with us and our audience here, Cheryl, is what is the most rewarding part to you about being a professional organizer?
I love leading clients to what they thought was impossible, which is an organized space. Mm-hmm. They feel absolutely overwhelmed, and the number one thing that they notice within the first session is huge relief.
Wow. So maybe we can lower our stress level?
Absolutely.
I mean, that huge relief, that sounds nice.
Yes, because, physical clutter equals emotional clutter. And when we walk into a space and there's just clutter and chaos everywhere, it's very stressful.
Well, what if you're used to it? Do you think that's still...
it's definitely still stressful because I work with people who have lived like that for years and years.
And they just get used to it. Maybe it's a subconscious level. They don't realize that it brings them down.
Or they just tolerate it because they don't know how to get out of it. They don't, so many people don't even know professional organizers exist. They are ashamed of their space, so they don't bring people into it sometimes. People don't even know this part of their life. Yeah, so they just live with it, but it shows up in their health problems, in insomnia, and their stress level's high. They're taking pills and things to manage their stress, and I think a lot of them really know that it's the chaos and clutter. They just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. I think you really mentioned something that is very important about our well-being, and I never connected so much to our well-being to our organized space.
Yes.
I think that's so important to have life and vitality, good health, physical health and emotional health, and I'm sure that there's a spiritual connection, spiritual health associated with that, and it all can be affected by just how our space is organized. How amazing!
Absolutely,
I love that, and so you get to see lives transform from
I do.
Just a service you give by organizing their space.
Yeah, I love it because the results start happening immediately.
Huh. Well, do you want to, and we won't have any names, but do you want to share one transformation with us that you noticed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked for a lady who was in her 60s, and her husband had died. She nursed him to his deathbed. He'd had a stroke, so for several years, she was just pure caretaking him, and she was basically a very organized, highly productive woman, and then those years just wore her out physically and emotionally. And they had a big life. They had a huge home and huge things going on in their life, and she just had to let it all go. And it just got so out of control. There was just no way she could face it all after he passed. And it was a couple of years after he passed that we found each other. Uh-huh. And she hired me, and at that point, she was hardly able to get out of bed. She was just so depressed and overwhelmed, and her health was terrible. Oh. And we spent a lot of time because she had a lot of things, a lot of property, and it literally changed her life. It brought her back to life, I would say, and she would say the same if she were right here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you are in that situation where you can't keep up, you can get behind so easily, and it's not to be ashamed of. We are only capable to do so much, and when you are taking care of a sick spouse, that's all that you can do. And bless her heart. And I know that you took care of her heart too while you were going through this process with her. And I don't know for sure how hard it would be to contact someone and then be so vulnerable and share your clutter.
that you don't want the world to see.
Yeah, you want to hide in your little space, but to transform that, she got better health, and she became a greater vitality just by changing her space. And so you saw that from that moment to the end.
Absolutely, yeah. She got back on her feet, completely back on her feet, and is now doing so well, back into a social life, and has a new man in her life at this point. And it just all came back together. But it was a process, and it was really an honor for me to be there and share my compassion for her, and yet have that balance of compassion and keeping focused on the task and moving through it and letting go of things that she was ready to let go of, and get her space completely organized and ready for a new chapter in her life. And, I like how you were mentioning about that sometimes our life circumstances come, and that what creates disorganization, because some people just aren't organized, period, or they're not wired that way. Other people are, but life circumstances, health, a divorce, a bankruptcy, any kind of loss or trauma in any way can really change our lives. And then it gets, after a while, it really becomes overwhelming. It's emotionally overwhelming. And so to have a professional organizer come in and help that situation, give them the support they need in getting out of the overwhelming and clearing through their stuff, is just vital. Some people just really need that support, or they just can't get there themselves. And I understand.
And I think that's what's unique about Cheryl, and being that I know her for a long time, she's got one of the most beautiful hearts and purest intentions. And so she just doesn't go and direct people how to put their stuff away or give them any shame. She takes care of their hearts and their souls, and helps them emotionally with their process of organizing. And so it's not just an idea of how to put things here and there. It's a support system that you provide as well, which I think
goes hand in hand, really.
It's really important. And that's unique about Cheryl, I feel, is amazing about Cheryl. So before you even began all this, Cheryl, what was the thing that inspired you to become a professional organizer?
Oh, interesting question, because I'd never heard of a professional organizer. I didn't even know they existed. But throughout my life, I've had friends and family ask me to organize this and that. And one day I was organizing for one of my girlfriends, and I was doing her paperwork. And she said, I know this couple that own a business out of their basement, and their office is so chaotic, and they are so stressed, and their marriage is so stressed. I bet you they'd hire you to do this.
Great idea
to me. And so she hooked us up, and I did their entire office. I did our paperwork, created a file system. We rearranged the furniture so there was a nice flow and the maximum use of space in the room, and the wall hangings, and organized the supplies and the whole everything in there. And it literally transformed their life and their business, because when paperwork is not organized, you losing business. Get lost papers and get behind in the billing process and in the marketing process and everything. And I came away from that going, wow, I love this. I loved seeing what a difference it made in their relationship as well as their business. It was immediate within the first session. So that was when the idea was born. So from there, I just kind of created my own 30-second commercial and took it to business lunches, network marketing lunches. That's where I started. And then from there, got a website eventually, and car signage and business cards. It's been an evolution, and it's been a real journey of learning how to do the business side, because the organizing side came
all
natural.
really there, yeah.
Yeah, but the business side is the challenge, and when you're an entrepreneur, you wear all the hats.
Sure.
You know, so I've worked very hard to come to where I'm at, but I love it. I'm just so happy doing it.
You know, I think there's a great thing that you said is that you love it, and then they love it. You love doing it, and they love the results.
Yeah.
And I think that is a perfect alignment for success.
Yes.
If you don't love what you do, you can't really flourish or be good at it. And people really need to have, they just want to have that organized feeling, and when they get it, it's a grand experience, a love relationship with their
Yes,
organized.
it is, and it changes their experience working with me because I love it. Usually it's something they dread, but because I bring my energy and my passion into it, it's not something they dread with me. I find that they comment often that, oh, this wasn't so bad, you know, because they have me with them to support them and get through it, and it turns out a lot easier than they thought a lot of times.
Well, interesting. So we might have hit this, but are there more benefits of becoming an organizer? And we only have a couple minutes, so you can just give us a little hook, and then we can go into it more. But we're going to have a commercial break, but just give us something to think about during a commercial break.
Okay, here's something to think about. How much money are you losing by not being organized? How much money are you losing by not being organized in lost receipts, lost contact information, can't find the bills, lost money, lost gift cards? When we go through paperwork, we unbury all kinds of treasures. And usually we always find money. Sometimes it actually ends up paying for their session with me because, oh, there's that check. I didn't even know it was there. I forgot it was there or whatever. But we come up with a lot of lost things. And duplicate items is huge. How many times do you go out to the store and buy something over and over again because you don't remember where you put it? You can't find it.
Okay.
So much money wasted on that.
So we're going to let you ponder that question while we take a commercial break and see what you might come up with while we're gone. So, and we'll come back and explore this idea a little bit more. So stick with us.
Yep.
Thank you. Welcome back, Being with Carol, and who I have with me right now is Cheryl Chandler.
It's the Carol and Cheryl show today.
That's true. I like that, the Carol and Cheryl. Cheryl, tell us how we can get a hold of you.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
My website is www.taorganize.com. My phone number is 801-759-1195. And by the way, on my home page, I've got a great video, a short video on file drawer organization. You can get some great tips and see how I can magically transform your file system.
Great.
And also, I have also got weekly tips. And if you go onto my website, you can be a subscriber to my weekly tips as well. And you just select that button on there, and it'll tell you what to do.
And I have been a subscriber, and I'm reading the weekly tips, and they are really great. You don't want to miss the weekly tips, and the website is beautiful. So do go on her website and check it out. You'll be really glad you did. So when we left, we talked about what were we talking about? What are we losing by not being organized?
Money, yeah.
Money.
How much money are you losing by
money?
not being organized?
Okay, so let's go into that a little more in depth, Cheryl.
Yes. Well, about losing money part, or just the benefits?
What are the benefits of being organized?
Yeah. Okay. The benefits, number one, stress relief.
Right. Okay.
Increased productivity. Wonderful. Because when the clutter is away, because that's the first thing we do is we declutter before we organize. We get rid of all the stuff that doesn't belong in that room or space, that doesn't belong in your life. And I gently coach people through that, help them to come to clarity on what to keep and what not to keep. And so, yes, the productivity comes up immediately. Better relationships, definitely.
Now, that's an interesting thing to mention, how organization and relationships connect.
Yes, because it's very stressful and irritating to family members and people in the workplace when they can't find things
Now
or when
I
it's a
get it.
mess.
Okay.
You know, especially when one's more neat and the other isn't, it causes irritation. It really does. And a lot of times in a marriage relationship or roommates or whatever, they blame each other for why it's not organized. But the truth is, a lot of times neither one of them knows how to organize. They just don't like it.
Yeah.
But they really don't know how. And so when a professional organizer comes in, they're neutral and not making either one right or wrong, and they come up with the best system.
Solutions.
And it takes out that blaming piece of it, which is really great. But yeah, it creates harmony. When there's organization, it creates harmony. So definitely in a workplace or in a home environment, the relationships automatically improve.
Well, I know that when my husband comes home, I like to try and have my place in order as much as possible, because it's just a little something in the air, something in the emotions that create a little heaven. And I always want to have it feel good and glad he's home when he comes home. And I think that is a definite correlation and relationship with how things are in the home, the placement, and how clean and clutter-free. It just does open up something within that creates a beautiful environment.
Exactly, because it creates an inviting environment. When you walk into a space that's cluttered, it literally sucks the energy out.
Interesting.
It does, even on a subconscious level. It just drains the energy. Yeah.
So a little bit of help and a little bit of organization that Cheryl can give you to, release that energy, have more vitality, energy.
Sleep better.
Improve
Absolutely sleep better.
your relationships. What else?
Improve
Find
health.
money.
Yeah, find money. Yeah.
We're on a roll.
Yeah.
There's a great, long list.
And another huge one is time.
Yeah.
According to Newsweek magazine, the average American spends over 55 minutes a day looking for things they can't find. 55 minutes.
Oh, I've been there.
That's the average.
I've been looking for keys. I've done my looking time.
What would you do with an extra 55 minutes a day? It's really amazing how much time is consumed with not having things in order. So it's a huge plus.
Interesting.
And almost all of my clients are so creative, and they have things that they really want to do, but because their space has been so disorganized, their day is about surviving the chaos and only getting done what has to get done. Mm-hmm. They never get to the things they really want to do because there's too much chaos and clutter. And when we declutter and create a system and order in their home or in their business space, then it frees up their time to do what they really want to do. And that is so exciting for them because that brings them to life. It's like, oh, yeah, I like coming into this room now, and I'm not embarrassed. I don't need to hide this in my life anymore.
Yeah.
So those are huge benefits.
Oh, yeah. So I have a question for the audience out there. How many of you had lost something and cannot let it go, and you get up in the middle of the night to go see if it was in another place, or you're late for work because you're still looking for it, or you delayed someone else because you still haven't found what you're looking for? And I see how that can really zap your time. And I know that my husband, Lynn, is when he loses something, nothing matters but to find that. And he has literally, Cheryl, he'll spend hours looking. And he's the greatest looker, though.
He'll turn at every corner, right?
And if I'm losing something, I can ask him, and he persists much, much, much longer than I would. But that's to my advantage and to his disadvantage.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really nice for me to do. But so, what are the benefits of hiring you? Can you share that? We know the benefits of being organized and how that great big long list that we talked about. What would be the benefit of hiring Cheryl Chandler here?
Okay, well, first of all, like I was saying earlier, not everyone has this gift. And so, and in fact, the statistics say that the population, only 10%, right, is born without a natural gift. So the other
That's
90%
not very
is
many.
like, dang, what do you do, And so it's hiring a professional organizer really helps get a system in place. They come from an objective point of view because I'm not attached to your stuff. So I don't have any, I'm just a neutral space.
Right.
It also is a huge plus to hire me because a lot of times when you have a friend or family, which is okay too, but for some people it really affects their efficiency in getting organized and the relationship, because they don't want to hurt the family or friends' feelings by their opinions, whereas to me, it doesn't matter.
That was a gift I gave you in Christmas at 1979.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you really get rid of that and open your space?
Yes. And a lot of people
understand.
just don't get organized because they don't want their friends or family to know this part of their life. So it's great news out there to know that there's people like me out there that you can hire to come into your home with safety and confidentiality and be able to get your space organized. You don't have to hide anymore, Also, it's just having that emotional support, that safety. It's usually is overwhelming. By the time someone calls me, they're overwhelmed.
Right.
And so having my support, my compassion, my non-judgmental way, and I'm a great sounding board to help them come to clarity on what to keep and what not to keep. And we create a system together that works and flows in their home where everything ought to be. And I want to say that if there isn't a home for everything, there's usually a home for nothing.
Now that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, because when there isn't the right things, one room flows into the other. And when one room is chaotic and there isn't a home for things in that room, it does usually flow from room to room, typically. And then the whole house or whole office space becomes a free-for-all.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's why people don't keep it up. You can clean a room, but if there isn't the right home for those things, that's why it becomes messy. And sometimes it becomes messy within an hour or two because there wasn't the right home to begin with. Hiring a professional organizer, you get the right home to put those things into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know I've had Cheryl come and do some filing for me, organize some files, and she's also done some filing, organizing for my sister, Dixie, and she has done an amazing job. She does the color coding. I know exactly how to find what I need to find. It does feel really, really good. And what I think is, why wait until you're in an overwhelming state to call Cheryl or call a professional organizer? Why don't you do that before you get into that state? And I think that's something to just take care of ourselves before we feel like we don't know what to do.
Yes, and I also do coaching as we go along so that I'm more conscious and aware of how to keep it up. And we're great about bringing things into our life. We buy things, we are gifted things, we are given things, but we hardly ever think to let go of things as new things are coming in. So we talk about that in ways to manage that in the inflow and outflow, so there really is space for new things to come into our life, because they do on a regular basis, and let go of those things that no longer serve us, that they've done their thing in our life, and it's time to let them go. And I want to end before we have a break here on one last thing about hiring a professional organizer is money. Money motivates. When you're paying an organizer, you want to make your money count.
Absolutely.
And because you're paying me, you tend to be more focused. With a friend or family member, sometimes you get that intention, but then you get talking and and before you know it, you didn't get your goal.
Okay.
You hire an organizer. She's there just to organize, and it's my job to keep you focused and make sure you're getting your money's worth. And we get a ton done. I'm highly productive, highly focused, not in a OCD, way, but my job is to get you organized.
Well, and if we don't have that, maybe we never would. You know, we
Yes.
really wouldn't. If we don't have the focused energy, the focused time, this is when it's going to happen for me. Sometimes we just don't quite get around to it. And by hiring a helper, a professional organizer, then you can check that off and let that energy and vitality be in your life again.
Yes, it's an investment of time and money that will last you for years if you're willing to keep it up, and we come up with a system of keeping it up. It absolutely it's just worth the time and money to put into it.
We don't have to be totally, as we talked about that, we don't have to be totally overwhelmed to call and become more organized. I like to let people come into my home and say, what do you think? Would you put it this way? Would you put it that way? And I'm not in an overwhelmed state. I just love to get a different perspective. And Cheryl can help you get a different perspective. Sometimes we get caught in our narrow-minded focus, and this is how it is, and this is because that's how I've always had it. And there might be a better way. Yeah. What type of people call you, Cheryl? What kind of service?
All walks of life, really.
Okay.
Anywhere from a college student, a young mother.
Okay.
Business people in home businesses, in small businesses, and people who are moving, who need help downsizing before they move.
That's a hard one, downsizing, because you can't fit it in.
Yes, especially in senior moves. That's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And for the family involved. Sometimes it's a huge challenge, especially if they live out of state, or being available for them.
So do you go out of state?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yes, I've been flown out of state before.
Wow.
Yes.
She's
several times.
Very popular outside of Utah even. Great.
Yes, in fact, I actually Skyped someone from Canada who found me through Facebook of a friend of a friend of a friend.
No kidding.
And we had 1-hour sessions once a week. And she would take her little camera and show around from room to room.
Oh, so you can do
it that way. And we talked about it. Yes, and I gave her assignments, and she came up with the questions and her frustrations of what do I do with this and what about that. And then each week, for like 4 weeks, we went through it. And it was an awesome experience. So that's another way, is to Skype.
Wow. There is no end. You can Skype. You can
phone session,
and you could do
in person.
A person just drive over there, and I know that she's organized food storage space, garages,
craft rooms, laundry rooms, kitchen pantries, bedrooms, bathrooms, you name it, and entire offices, home offices and business offices, with the paperwork on the desktop as well as in the file drawer, and office supplies, just the whole shebang,
Okay.
Also, people can call me for gift certificates. A lot of people have called me over the years for surprising their spouse with their office cleaned up, or a gift certificate for birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, any of those.
Okay.
It works out. I think it would even be a great wedding gift.
Well, that's a great idea. So you'll go shopping and help them get the containers that you need to be more sufficient in their space and such?
I can do that. I really work individually with their budget and what they have or don't have already.
Okay.
We declutter and assess their needs, and then when it's time to get the space organized, we look at what they have and what their style is, and then they either go get it, we make a shopping list for them, or some really just want me to go do it, and I can work either way, and I go shop for them. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the process that you go through?
The process is I book a 4 to 6 hour session typically.
Okay.
And so when we first get there, they show me their space, and they just kind of vent for a little bit, and then and that really is. That's part of the process, is being able to vent and feel like someone like me understands.
Your mind, let it out.
Yes, because I understand, and they have a listening ear, and they know venting to me. It's part of the process of helping to solve it too. So it's all good. Then we decide where we're going to start. And we do fill out a little letter of agreement, and confidentiality is on there. That's always important to know, because it's very vulnerable for someone to hire a perfect stranger. Sometimes I'm referred, but a lot of times, most of the times, it's people that don't know me.
Okay.
They find me on the internet. And so we do that, and then we just dig in. And by the end of the session, they can see how much we're going to get done in that time frame and how we work together. And then we talk about what needs to happen for it to come to a final close. Sometimes people hire me just for a walkthrough. They're going to move or not going to move. And we just take paper and pen and we go through each room and we talk about things that are concerning to them and ideas of how to work it through and give them a checklist, and off they go. So there's just so many different ways.
Different levels of how to get your support and your help.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
I just want to do what works.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I want to wrap this up and thank my audience for participating and being with us, and thank Cheryl for being here. And you can call her at 801-759-1195 and catch her at doworganizing.com. Organize.